So these past few months, Enlisted has added a few maps in-game, and of which some of them are great and some of them are terrible. On the other hand, today I'm going to be talking about the 5 maps that Enlisted should definitely add. Of course, some of them are going to be better and some of them are definitely going to be worse, hence the ranking system. But without further ado, to complement what Enlisted has added, here are my suggestions for the top 5 maps that Enlisted should add. And in number 5, we have the Battle of Kursk. This historically was the battle that pretty much was the largest tank-on-tank engagement, although in actual theory it was quite different. The Battle of Kursk was in 1943 and is on the Eastern Front, as most people would know. The issue is that Kursk is a flat and open map, and it is another map that we need on the Eastern Front. In all reality, we don't really need another Eastern Front map, and in all reality speaking, the map being flat open terrain is essentially a haven for tanks and planes. Of course, Enlisted can make structural changes such as adding certain objects to make it more fair for the infantry, but at this point, if you've seen the pictures of the Battle of Kursk, you can already tell why this is such a bad idea. It is essentially flat open terrain with pretty much hell on earth. That's that. In the number 4 spot, we had the Battle of Leningrad. Kind of same with the issues with the Battle of Kursk, and this is another map with the Soviets versus the Germans. The issue, and probably the better thing that we have here, is that Enlisted could potentially add Finland, which at this point isn't really possible considering the fact that Enlisted hasn't even added the French yet, so that's that. Leningrad is, again, like Stalingrad in most similar ways, in the sense that it's another urban setting between the Soviet Union and Germany, one that we really don't need in Enlisted as of right now. That said, in the number 3 spot, we have the Battle of Aachen. The Battle of Aachen historically lasted from September 12th to October 21st of 1944. It was the first major headway that the Western Allies had into Germany itself. This, with the Battle of Rheinmagen, pretty much left the Western Front for the Germans pretty much exposed and non-existent after a while. The city of Aachen was on the Siegfried Line, and if you don't know the Siegfried Line, it was essentially the German version of the Maginot Line, which is essentially a heavily defended line of fortifications and trenches and whatnot. Of course, they're much better in the sense that most of them were concrete. The issue here that Enlisted really needs is that they need another map besides Normandy for the Western Allies against the Germans. The issue here is that Normandy doesn't really do a good job, like I just said, which Aachen is the opposite of. I personally suggest that Enlisted should add Aachen, because this was not only on the Siegfried Line, which is actually much better for infantry on infantry engagements instead of tank on tank or plane on plane engagements, not that they weren't possible, but it's also much more fun if you're playing in an urban setting that Normandy just really doesn't offer, unless in certain places, of course. That said, the Battle of Aachen is certainly my top 3 pick, and in the number 2 spot we have the Battle of Monte Cassino and the Gustav Line. The Battle of Monte Cassino was part of the Gustav Line from January 17th to May of 18th of 1944, the Allies, to be exact, the Western Allies, were breaching southern Italy to get into northern Italy and essentially topple what Churchill calls the underbelly of Europe. The only issue was that the Battle of Monte Cassino, as well as the rest of the Gustav Line, was on hilly terrain that was pretty much advantageous to the defender. The Battle of Monte Cassino itself is a monastery on a hill, to be exact, more akin to a mountain. The issue here is that the Battle of Monte Cassino and the Gustav Line is really reminiscent of who can get the high ground, and if you played the Isonzo, then you pretty much know what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, Italy, to be exact, the Gustav Line area, is much akin to Isonzo than anything else, which is a World War I shooter that you should definitely check out. The issue with this combat is that Enlisted should add Italy, but besides that, Enlisted is essentially going to be using hill terrains to forage their maps. Tank-on-tank engagement, although possible, is going to be really problematic, especially if you make a wrong turn and you fall off a cliff. The other issue is the fact that planes are going to be having somewhat of a heyday, considering the fact that they can fly above mountains, so that's that. Overall, the Battle of Monte Cassino is my second pick, and I do think Enlisted needs something different, like a mountainous terrain area. Currently, none of the listed maps have that, so that's that. In the number 1 spot, we have 3 maps, arguably 2 of which are arguably similar, and in number 1, we have the Battle of Iwo Jima, the Battle of Manila, and the Battle of Peleliu. All of them are in the Pacific Theater, and that is exactly what we need because the Pacific Theater has some of the least amount of maps, considering the fact that Japan is one of the major factions enlisted. As a matter of fact, it's one of the four, so what are we kidding? The Battle of Iwo Jima, historically fought from 1945, the Battle of Manila fought from 1941, and, if we're talking historically in the Battle of the Philippines, we can also say it occurred from 1941, or the Battle of Manila in 1944 to 1945. Essentially, the two Battle of the Philippines in the Pacific Theater. Arguably, it's a 2-for-1, and honestly, I think it's a great deal. On the other hand, you have the Battle of Peleliu, essentially another American invasion of the island of Peleliu this time. Every one of these maps have their own benefits and downside. Iwo Jima, Peleliu are notorious for having essentially pretty much no cover, and the Marines were historically running into battle without any cover. The Battle of Manila was arguably historically an urban setting, which gave cover for everyone. So that's that. Overall, I think Pacific maps is what we really need in Enlisted right now. But that said, that's all it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.